Hello everyone, it's been a while since I uploaded my last YouTube video. I've been really busy the past couple weeks. I'm in a different location now, so I've been moving, and today was the first day I got my internet back, so I can finally post another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Asperger's syndrome and the current current symptoms that I possess, not current systems. Um, but yeah, in my previous videos I talked about symptoms that I had throughout childhood, and got some good feedback on that. A lot of people also had those symptoms. But today I'm going to talk about symptoms I currently have, and let me preface this by making note that I use the word symptom lightly. Uh, I know Asperger's syndrome is not a disease, it's a personality disorder, but I'm just going to use the word symptom because I've grown so accustomed to that word, but I guess a better word would be attribute or characteristic or something, but if I do use symptom, please don't be offended, because I realize that Asperger's syndrome is not a sickness, it's just a different way of thinking. But I'll start off with symptoms that I did possess during childhood, but have since either diminished in their intensity or have gone away completely, or maybe never existed in me. The first was the speech patterns, and this obviously changed as I grew older, and this is not surprising at all. When a child grows, obviously his or her speech will change. At least that's what's supposed to happen. Of course, where I live, it doesn't always happen, unfortunately. But yeah, obviously I'm quite a bit more articulate nowadays than I was as a child. Um, and that just comes through years of knowledge and expanding my vocabulary and things of that nature. But yeah, the speech has changed. Um, Another characteristic of Asperger's that I would argue that I never had to begin with is understanding humor. I read this and I didn't really get it because I've always been able to understand humor. I enjoy comedy. I think George Carlin was the greatest comedian of all time. Um, but yeah, when I watch comedy, I don't just sit there with drool hanging out of my mouth. I enjoy it. I get it. I understand it. And, I've always been like that. Even as a child, I've enjoyed, a good joke. And, so comedy is something I've always understood. And also, I read something about being too literal. I've always been able to understand, you know, complex ideas. I don't always think in black and white. I I can remember maybe a couple instances where maybe I didn't understand something someone said, but I would argue for the most part that I'm not overly literal. I mean, I actually I'm quite good at looking at all sides of an argument and thinking objectively and not just categorizing something into black and white. Um, but yeah, another thing that I guess sort of wasn't true for me during childhood was motor impediments. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and I got the black belt when I was a child. So obviously Taekwondo requires a lot of balance, dexterity, uh, a lot of hand-eye coordination when you're sparring, uh, and I achieved that goal. And now in some cases I wasn't very good at certain things like I couldn't catch a basketball when I was a kid, and I practically still can't, or football, or, those kind of team sports I've never been good at, and I never really enjoyed either. But, um, but yeah, Taekwondo is just, it's a weird exception for me because I was good at it, and, that certainly betrays the, rundown of symptoms for Asperger's. And, one final thing that has changed for me was my fear of loud noises. Um, I mentioned in a previous video that I would sit there with my hands over my ears whenever there was a fire drill. Obviously I don't do that anymore. I've been to many heavy metal concerts or, loud music events, that have probably damaged my hearing, but um, some of them were more uncomfortable than others, but I've been able to go and not, I haven't let my dislike of loud noises interfere with me enjoying those kind of events. So I would argue that that has diminished somewhat. But moving on to my main symptoms that I possess nowadays, one is just a major disconnect from everyone. And it's so weird because it's like I see people, but they're like, it's like watching animals in a zoo, no offense, or just watching a culture, a different culture of people, maybe that's a better analogy. Uh, but yeah, it's something I can't really relate to. I'll see people, you know, taking part in these social activities, and, you know, I'll watch, but I can't really relate. I can't see myself participating in those kind of events. And I guess that leads into my next symptom is just my limited scope of interests. So I just, I don't enjoy parties or, social events that most people enjoy going to or can easily, participate in. It's just incredibly difficult for me. Um, yeah, it doesn't appeal to me at all. Um, Another, and I don't even want to call this a symptom, a characteristic is uh, I tend to uh, express myself in words differently than most people. My language is certainly atypical. Of course, where I'm from, people can't really speak English very well to begin with, but I've been told that I'm more articulate and eloquent than other people, but for me, it's not really something that I try to do, but my logic is, I can at least sound intelligent, even though I'm not. I'm not intelligent, but I can at least sound intelligent by, you know, being, I guess, more verbose than uh, I should be. But yeah, my language is a little different than most people here. Um, it's also very difficult for me sometimes to understand and express emotions. Now, don't make the mistake that I lack emotions, because I can tell you straight up I feel a lot of emotions, and, but expressing them is just so difficult, because I tend to just, like, I bottle things up, for one, and, I'm not a confrontational person at all. I tend to just run away when something's bothering me, or, I can't, I can't really confront somebody about how I feel. I'll completely shut myself off from said person. And I guess that's not really the best thing to do, but I can't help it. That's what makes the most sense to me, and that's what's easiest for me, is to turn the other way and leave. And that brings me a lot of grief, because, I suppose if I was able to express myself and, try to relate to other people, then maybe I'd still have friends that I've lost. But another thing that I have is I have a difficult time with small talk, or just everyday conversation, which is kind of strange because I've never really had an intense problem with public speaking. I did theater in high school, but to me that's just really different, because you know what you're going to say whenever you do that kind of thing. You have points that you're going to make, or you have lines that you're going to read, and I've always been fairly good at that, but just going up to a stranger, or just, talking to somebody that, you know, you don't know incredibly well, just that kind of small talk, for one, it seems pointless. I find myself, having to talk to somebody about the weather. I don't care about the weather. I don't care about a lot of things that they want to talk to me about, but, uh, I still find myself having to carry out these conversations with people, and at the end I'm exhausted. I just, when they finally leave, I just breathe a sigh of relief, because I'm just not good at that kind of small talk. I see I've already gone over, but one final characteristic that I possess is an adherence to routine, and that's, quite common in people with Asperger's. I actually did betray that adherence uh, last year, 2010. I forced myself to move away and experience completely new surroundings and a new job, new everything. And, you know, simply put, things went awry, and a lot of bad things happened, and I ended up moving back. And I'm now, stuck in the same rut, I guess. But, every time something happens, like, say with my job that I'm not expecting, like something goes wrong, I just freak out. And considering my job, that's not a good thing to do, but I still find myself doing it. And, I wish I could be more calm in those kind of situations, but it's really hard, and it's also hard for me driving places. Like, I can drive places, but just all the traffic and everything, and driving is something that I've never really enjoyed. I mean, I've never wrecked, but I don't like it. Um, but yeah, I enjoy things that are predictable, but I don't want to live a dull life. I don't want to, live in an environment where things are exactly the same every day. And that duality, I guess, is just something that tends to eat away at me. It's like two opposing forces. But, I suppose I'll talk about that in later videos. But, yeah, I prefer an adherence to routine, but at the same time, I would really like something new and interesting to happen, because again, I guess it goes back to my limited interest. I find a lot of things boring, and I don't want to live a boring life. But I'll talk about that in a later video. Thanks for watching.